Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Sean, and we have a huge problem, a major problem in the fast food industry, and this time it's not due to California raising their minimum wage to an absurd amount of $20 an hour. It's due to the fact that prices are jumping dramatically and consumers are rejecting this because what used to be an inexpensive way to eat relatively quickly has become a very expensive process and people are not into it. And because of that, we're seeing the potential collapse of major institutions like McDonald's, who missed profit projections for the first time in 2 years, and it's not looking like things are going to get any better. Now, we're going to talk about this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And remind you that this show is available in podcast form. A link to that in the description of this video. So to open this segment, CBS ends up talking about the overall market, the S&P 500 hitting an all-time high, being up 12% since I believe the beginning of the year or compared to last year. But then they go into the consumer price index, which is one of the ways that we measure inflation in this country. And they point out that prices are up 3.4% compared to last year, which is a slowing of inflation. But to be clear, that still means that inflation is up because that 3.4% is up on top of whatever percentage we had increased last year.
Rally followed the latest government report on inflation. Consumer prices eased in April, up just 3.4% compared to last year. Housing and gas prices account for more than half of the monthly increase. And Americans are still feeling the pinch when it comes to food, especially when dining out.
And this has caused people to be quite concerned with the price increases that they're experiencing. However, I do want to point out that there is a little bit more something going on in terms of McDonald's and these other fast food giants that is separate from the overall prices of food going up, which everybody is experiencing and has to deal with at the grocery store.
Consumers are fed up with higher prices.
Tell me why it was $17 for 3 filet of fishes.
Huh? Who told y'all was that good to be charging that much for y'all food?
Now, they then cut to a bunch of people who are upset about the price increases, and unfortunately, I'm being a little bit judgmental right here. These are probably the same people who wanted additional COVID spending, and I do want to point out that a lot of people in the media that denied that inflation would come to pass based on the crazy spending that we did during the pandemic, who denied that there would be consequences of the lockdown, are now staring it in the face and trying to blame corporate greed. However, this whole segment is about how the prices are up, and this is something I always tell you on this channel, but profits are down in these corporations. So no, it's not random corporate greed just price gouging you. That is a technique for the government to deflect blame from their policies to the person charging the prices, because people tend to blame the thing at point of sale, but it's an incredibly low IQ move for you to buy into that.
It angers them and angers me that you have to spend more. For example, the whole idea of this notion that Senator Casey talked about, shrinkflation. I think it's on your
Same
program.
price for a smaller bottle of juice or something.
For example, Snickers bar, they did a thing, and it's like 20% less for the same price. That's corporate greed. It's corporate greed. And we've got to deal with it, and that's what I'm working on.
Now, there is a big disparity between the price of groceries, the price of overall food, and the price of fast food. As you saw, it's up 1.1% in the month of April, compared to 4.8% in terms of fast food.
In April, groceries ticked up slightly compared to a year ago, but fast food prices soared 4.8%.
But this is largely due to the fact that fast food companies also have to deal with a dramatic shock in terms of their labor costs, because they've had to offer more money in order to bring people in due to the labor crunch. But on top of that, they also have to deal with, in various municipalities, increases in the minimum wage. And what I love about this being a factor in the price increases is the fact that these are many of the same left-wing people who said, oh, I would pay a little more if they just had a living wage behind the counter over at McDonald's. But it turns out when that little more ends up coming up, they walk away. Or in reality, most of the people who would advocate for these policies don't eat fast food anyway. They don't hang out with you, the garbage people, who sometimes rely on this or oftentimes rely on this because they're better than you. But yeah, this is the result of people's stated preference. I would pay more for fast food to make sure people got higher wages, and their revealed preference, which is complaining on the internet about the prices being too high and people not buying, and McDonald's losing profitability almost immediately quickly after all these different various minimum wage increases ended up going into effect across the country.
How does that affect your budget? When you're paying more for fast food, what does that do?
It makes it harder to live, but then you have to save. So you're like, I can't have my fast food if I save.
So this girl says it makes it harder to live when you don't have your fast food, but I will just point out that fast food is no good for you. Now, I do want to also add to everybody who's going to suggest, hey, look, well, at least Americans are going to be eating healthier. While I hope that would be true, the fact of the matter is a lot of these people are just going to buy crappy food over at their grocery store for cheaper prices because prices are up at the grocery store as well. On top of that, I will point out that she's making bad financial decisions with that McFlurry right there. All that McFlurry is, if you guys are unaware, is some ice cream and some Oreo being thrown in there depending on the flavor. If you just get the single cone from McDonald's from the ice cream machine, that is still your cheapest, best option, better than the ice cream trucks, just as good as soft serve, and you can add whatever toppings you want to that. You don't need the McFlurry. Don't fall for the hype. I just saved this woman, how much is a McFlurry? Like $17? I'm just kidding, it's probably $7, but the cone is like $1.50 to $2. I just saved her $5, made her life exponentially better.
In fact, over the last 10 years, analysis from Finance Buzz found a McDonald's quarter pounder with cheese meal has more than doubled. Taco Bell's beefy 5-layer burrito spiked almost 200%.
Okay, so real talk, I gotta be perfectly honest with everybody out there in the audience. That beefy 5-layer burrito price increase, it hurts me. It hurts me personally, it hurts me physically, it hurts me emotionally. Because the 5-layer burrito, for you guys who don't understand the wonders of Taco Bell, was one of the greatest things ever. Under $2, and you get something with sour cream, beans, beef, tortilla, and you also get nacho cheese that when you squeeze the top of the burrito, because of the engineers that work at Taco Bell, the cheese will come over the top and you can enjoy it in each and every bite. Pair that with a little bit of the hot sauce, the black sauce. They used to have the green sauce. It used to be way better. Money right there. It's like you're being transported to Guatemala for a very authentic experience. All you need is ranch Dorito chips inside there. You could add the crunch factor. Just kidding about that. Just kidding about the authenticity. But the fact of the matter is, I did love this item and I did love it for that price. And it breaks my little baby heart that this price is gone. It's nearly doubled.
And a Chipotle barbacoa burrito is 87% more expensive.
Now listen, I'm not a huge fan of Chipotle, but Nuance Bro, the extreme couponer, absolutely loves it. So I just want to say, buddy, from me to you, I feel terrible for you that your Chipotle burrito is more expensive, especially because you get the double meat in there. And I know that breaks your little baby heart.
Popeyes and Burger King menu items also jumped. As a result, KFC reported slower foot traffic, and McDonald's missed profit expectations for the first time in 2 years.
Again, did you hear that? You have prices up in KFC, prices up in Popeyes, prices up in Burger King, McDonald's, all across the board. We're told it's due to corporate greed, those greedy corporations, but as we find out, prices are a signal. There are alternatives to fast food. So all of these companies are struggling with their price increases. Something that I said over and over again on this channel repeatedly, which is higher prices do not necessarily equal higher profits. In fact, sometimes they equal just the opposite of that. And we're experiencing this shock right now. Now, by the way, I also want to add, and this is not included in this segment, that this has potential dramatic implications for the beef industry because McDonald's is the largest purchaser of beef and potatoes, and I believe even chicken in the entire country. So if McDonald's is going under, if they go through a significant contraction, that's already going to hammer the already hurting beef industry in this country, and not to mention potatoes, not to mention chicken, not to mention all these other things that end up going to all these fast food companies that end up relying on these big industry purchases that are now being ripped away. There are major problems going on in our economy right now, and people are pretending it's no big deal and that people will just get healthier, but in reality, we're going to see dramatic shocks if something doesn't change.
This is lower income earners are spending less on fast food.
To make their menu more affordable, McDonald's is now considering adding a new value meal.
So first of all, right off the top, I just want to say, attractive woman. I had to say it because you preverts out there in the audience would definitely be commenting it if I did not say it, but I do find it interesting that McDonald's is moving their strategy to creating a new value menu. Now I remember the dollar menu when it was a dollar menu as a response to this because again, what they rely on is low income people who are brought in by the fast convenience of their food and the affordable prices, because they don't actually make more money, like I've been saying this whole time. By charging more money, they make money by moving volume at low cost.
Can I have one McChicken, please, one medium fry, and one medium Diet Coke? Right now, all of this costs $8. And to give customers relief, McDonald's may soon make it a $5 value meal nationwide.
I think that would be great. I would love that.
The deal is set to start on June 25th and run about a month. McDonald's is joining Burger King, Wendy's, and Jack in the Box, already offering similar value meals.
So right here, what we're seeing is that McDonald's is coming out with a $5 range kind of value menu that is similar to the Wendy's Biggie Bag, which, by the way, used to be called the 4 for $4. Now it's like the Biggie Bag, which makes it like a little over $5, and they're equivalent at Burger King and at these other locations. And again, while this might result in an increase in traffic, as we learned from Red Lobster with the endless shrimp deal, if people are only coming in for this specific thing and this is not profitable for these companies, this can end up making things significantly worse.
The typical American consumer is much more focused on value now for a variety of reasons. Meal bundles, whether it is at quick service or table service restaurants, have become much more popular.
So what does this inflation data mean for consumers? Basically, with prices staying stubbornly high, sticky at that higher level, the Federal Reserve is unlikely to cut interest rates in June, which means new mortgages, new car loans, and credit card debt will just remain expensive for longer.
Now again, because inflation is a problem, because prices are still elevated, the Federal Reserve unlikely to cut interest rates, although I do think they're more likely to do so because the Biden administration is going to be putting pressure on the Fed because they want an ease in the conditions, so that way people feel better about the economy going into the election. And because of that, these companies that normally when times were tough would borrow money, cheap money, in order to stay operational, are at greater risk of going under. Not to mention that every so often we get forecasts that the Fed is maybe going to lower the interest rate couple months from now or whatever. People plan based on that, and every time that ends up blowing up because prices ended up staying higher than people expected, a bunch of different companies end up filing for bankruptcy because they can no longer stand this current situation. So yeah, things are looking really bleak. And for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are unaware, the Big Mac Index is a way that people measure inflation across countries, and who would have thought we would be looking at that and the price of a Big Mac going up so dramatically in the United States to judge how bad things actually are. Remember, all the different components of a Big Mac are relatively unchanged, but the price is going up because inflation is up. And it's not just corporate greed, as we were told. It's not inflation being used as an excuse, because now we're seeing in their profit margins, in their profit lines, all these different various companies struggling at the same time. People are responding to the higher prices by refusing to pay them, and that could spell disaster for huge segments of the economy. On top of that, labor costs are elevated, specifically in fast food companies. Remember, places like California promised that they could take it, they could deal with it. Turns out that was not true. Turns out every economic law applies even in the state of California, and we're headed for an absolute disaster. And I expect to see a lot of fast food places closing, especially if these $5 value menu deals don't end up working. Now, those are just my thoughts related to the situation. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about disastrous inflation wreaking havoc on the fast food industry. Till next time.